Hi, I'm Mark Vernane, Head of the Prosecution Project. Our team is researching the successes, failures and evolution of the criminal trial in Australian history. With the help of volunteers, we're also digitising court records from the different state jurisdictions. There are some trials all Australians know about. This project, however, is concerned with ones about which little is known and placing these in the wider context of the history of criminal prosecutions in Australia. In this video, we look at one of these little-known trials, which took place right here in the middle of the Brisbane CBD.
Brisbane Supreme Court, 1888. 47-year-old Bridget Betts tried for manslaughter. The indictment is entered into the project database by Trish O'Shaughnessy, a research assistant with the Prosecution Project team. The case looks interesting, so Trish and fellow researchers decide to learn more about it. To start the research, Trish heads to the Queensland State Archives, the repository for historical court records.
Amanda, I've had a look at the original indictment laid against Bridget Betts. What's interesting to me is that it's a murder committed by a woman. Do we know anything else about that case?
Yeah, I found out that the victim was actually a woman as well, a woman called Catherine Knight. Catherine lived on Margaret Street in Brisbane, right around the corner from one of Bridget's friends, Kate Nelson. It seems there was a fight in Kate's backyard between Bridget and Catherine, and that's where Catherine was killed.
So was it common for women at that time to commit that type of violent crime?
No, it was very uncommon. There's very few women that are indicted for homicides overall. Those that are indicted have mostly committed infanticides, or they've killed partners that were often abusive. So in this case, where a woman killed another adult woman, it's actually a very unusual case.
Alana, this is a very peaceful and respectable street. Were you surprised when I told you that this was where the killing happened?
Actually, no, not at all. It makes perfect sense when you look at the background of the women involved. Let's cross the street and I'll show you what I mean. This is the area where Bridget committed her crime. Back then, this section of Margaret Street was part of a seedy district known as Frogs Hollow. It housed a community where crime, prostitution and violence, especially alcohol-fuelled violence, was common. And the records indicate that Bridget and her victim were definitely part of that subculture.
Bridget had numerous previous convictions, mostly for minor offences, such as public drunkenness. In 1880, however, she had been sentenced to 7 years hard labour for pickpocketing. Bridget's arrest history could not be disclosed during the manslaughter trial. Unfortunately for her, however, there had been eyewitnesses to the crime.
Robin, we've uncovered a number of really interesting facts in regard to this case. One of which is that a key prosecution witness was an 8-year-old child called Josephine Nelson. What do we know about Josephine?
Well, what we know about Josephine is that her mother Kate had been drinking with Bridget throughout the evening, and by the time that this fight took place, Kate had passed out and didn't see any of it, but her daughter Josephine did, and ended up being the key prosecution witness at the trial against Bridget. Well, before children were able to give their testimony at trial, they had to prove to the court that they understood the nature of an oath. And this, at that time, meant proving to the court that they understood if they lied, they would go to hell.
Lisa, we're at the point where Bridget is at trial. What do we know about that?
Well, Trish, we know that like most accused in the 19th century, Bridget couldn't afford a lawyer, so she was unrepresented at the trial.
So does that mean that the prosecution case was ever tested?
Yeah, they were. Bridget defended herself. So she questioned the prosecution's witnesses, and she even produced a witness in her defence. But under the laws of the period, Bridget was prevented from giving evidence herself. She could only make an unsworn statement.
Do we know what she said to the court in that statement?
Yeah, she simply protested that she was as innocent as a child unborn, which simply wasn't enough to clear her name.
The jury found Bridget guilty. In passing sentence, Justice Harding said that if the charge against her had been murder, Bridget would likely have been executed. Instead, Bridget was sentenced to 10 years penal servitude. She died in prison in 1892. If you would like to help uncover more stories like Bridget Betts, visit the Prosecution Project's website and volunteer to become involved in transcribing original court records. This will create a resource for all future Australians and provide insight into the long-term trends and changes in our criminal justice system.